Hi guys, and welcome to my very first DIY YouTube video, which feels like it's a long time coming because I've been doing DIY projects on my blog for years and years and years. I can't even think how many years off the top of my head. But if you fancy having a dig around in the archives, I will leave the link in the description box below so you can go check those out. And actually, ironically, this video is kind of inspired by one of my previous DIY projects on my blog, which I kind of was reminded about because I don't know if anybody else has this, but on Pinterest I quite often get shown my own content back to me on my home feed. I don't know why, and I don't really feel like it's necessary, although it did inspire this video, so there you go. But anyway, I was reminded of this project, which I haven't seen for ages because we're currently in between homes and it's in storage. But I made a DIY wall hanging with those classic woven raffia placemats that you get from so many different places. These ones I actually used a lighter type, but I was like, yeah, that was a good project, and I feel like there is a lot of mileage in those woven placemats. So I have come up with 3 different DIY projects that are pretty straightforward to make, just showing you how versatile they are. And actually the ones that I ordered came in a set of 4, so I had enough to do all of these projects, and I have one left over. So I mean, really I should think of a good use for that. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's dive in. So we're going to start with one of your placemats, and we're actually going to cut it in half. So we need to mark halfway across, preferably with a ruler, but I only had a cardboard box to hand, so that's what I made do with. And then you're going to cut across that center point with your scissors. And I'm not going to lie, this is a little bit tricky because it's quite thick, but if you just put some effort in, I promise you will be able to do it. And then you'll end up with 2 halves, and you're literally just going to use one for this project. And the next step is to thread a needle with some twine, and this is actually wired twine that I've got here just to give it a bit more structure and strength. And you're going to do a blanket stitch all the way along that bottom that you cut, so that edge, just to kind of neaten it up and also strengthen it. So just work your way across. It doesn't have to be mega neat. The good thing is twine is the same color as the placemat that you're using, so it kind of blends in. But yeah, just work your way across. And I actually moved on to the next step and then realized that as I was threading in the raffia, it was still splitting apart a bit. So I thought I'd go back in with some super glue and just go all the way along that cut edge, kind of in the same way that you would with fray check on fabric. So I'm just pushing it together and gluing it all the way along. This is really going to make sure that it's strong and holds together when you're putting a needle through it again. So here I've threaded my twine. I basically cut a long length of twine, folded it in half, threaded it through the needle, and then take it through and then pull 1/2 of that twine that you thread through and take it out the other side. So you're basically going to have half on one side, half on the other side, and then unthread your needle, because that's literally just to get it through the placemat, and then sort of neaten it up a bit. And you need to tie a double knot at the bottom to secure it, and it is a bit tricky to get it through the placemat, a reoccurring theme here. But if you use a table like I did, or maybe have something underneath, just to sort of apply pressure to get it through and then like wiggle it through, basically. There's no sophisticated way of explaining it. And then you're just going to repeat this step. And once you've gone all the way across, you need to create something to secure your wall hanging with. So I am just threading another bit of wired twine, and I'm going to go into the top and create a loop. Twist, twist, twist. So you're just going to have a really little neat loop which you can hang it from. Just keep on going around a little bit to make sure it's secure, and then you can cut it. And now for tidying up the ends, because there's a lot of raffia. It's kind of like crazy long hair, so you need to neaten it up a bit. So just kind of pull it all through, and then I gave the ends a snip. I didn't want to make it too even along the bottom, so just gave it a little bit of a trim. For our next project, you're going to need another half of a placemat as we did before, but you could use the other half, which is very convenient. And you're going to do the same step again. So thread your twine, or wired twine in my case, through a needle, and then just basically work your way across doing a blanket stitch. So along that cut edge, just to neaten everything up, make sure it all stays together. Then you need to take your other placemat, so this is a full round placemat, place your half on top of it, and just get the positioning right. And then I'm going to thread my needle again with twine, and I'm going to try and get it through the placemat again. This time you're going to go through 2 placemats, so it's even more of a challenge, but just with a lot of wiggling and a lot of pressure on your table or something else underneath, you will be able to get it through, I promise. And then you just work your way around combining those 2 together. Once again, it doesn't need to be super neat because you're working in the same color as the actual item, but it's basically just creating a pocket, so you want to make sure that along that edge it's all sealed. And then I've chosen a kind of off-white color. I thought, why not do something a little bit different to paint across all of my planter and go down into the pocket as well to make sure that you can't see any of the original. And I'm really working it into the cracks, but not too much, because actually I think it's quite nice to see some of the differentiation, so it's not completely solid color, which is why I didn't spray paint it. Work it through the sides as well, so that they all look nice when you've got the final thing up on the wall. And then once again you need to add something to the back to hang it. This time I thought it would be best to do 2 little loops on the back. So once again, with my needle and my thread, just pulling it through. I went in twice with the needle just to make sure it was secure, and then created a loop. And then I did the same on the other side, basically tried to make sure it was equal distance in from the edge and along the same line. So for this one, you're gonna take a bundle of raffia and you're gonna tie a knot in the end. And you're gonna really pull that through, giving you a bit of an arm workout with these DIYs. So make sure that it's as tight as you can get it, and then you're just gonna plait it, a good old-fashioned plait. And you can put the end underneath something heavy if that helps, but I just thought I'm just gonna wing it. Why not? So do a nice tight plait, kind of pulling it through, making sure that it's quite neat and taut as you go down. And you're going to do that all the way to the end. Now you could do one extremely long plait for this if your twine is long enough, but mine wasn't. So I've got two different plaits that I've done both like this. It will become clear why in a moment. And I'm going to add some tape to the end just to keep it together because I don't want to tie that bit in another knot. So just to keep it together like that. And then we're going to move on to our other placemat. We need a whole full circle. And guys, if you have a glue gun, I would advise you use a glue gun, but I didn't have any glue cartridges left. So I found this random double-sided Gorilla Glue stuff, which was actually quite strong, but that was all I had at the time. So I'm placing these all around the back of my mirror, which I'm going to stick onto the raffia placemat. But as I said, glue gun, definitely the best option. And then just try to evenly place it on top of my placemat. And there's my phone on the tripod and part of my face. And then I'm taking that good old trusty wired twine again, and I wanted to create a kind of pattern around the edge using these loops. So I'm just measuring out how big I want those loops to be and how far apart. And then I'm going to cut a load of pieces the same length so I can do the same thing all the way around. But for extra security, I'm going to take some thin strips of tape and I'm going to secure them using that over the top. And you won't see these in the end because they'll be underneath the glued plait. But I work my way the whole way around so I get this nice little pattern. Looks a bit like a flower actually, which I hadn't really registered. Just secure them all down with some tape, and then as I said, glue gun, guys, that's what you want. But I had to use these random Gorilla Glue strips. So I put them all around the outside of the mirror, and then I got my plait, cut the end, and basically just worked my way around, pressing them down, gluing this section onto the rest of the mirror. And then I cut halfway. As I said, I didn't have enough raffia to go the whole way around. My plait wasn't long enough, so I ended up with two. And then I just tried to tidy up the ends with some super glue and press them down just so that they were together and they weren't gonna fray. And we will sort them out further at the end, don't worry. Then add the other plait, exactly the same but on the other half. Just trying to make sure that it's glued down evenly, creates a nice circle shape, and then cut again when you reach the other end. And here, just to tidy everything up, I took a few strands of twine and gathered those end bits where they met together and just put a little bit over there, which just helps to keep it all together and make it look more finished at the end if you have to do it half and half, as I did. And then do exactly the same on the other side again. And then you want to create another little loop on the back to hang it once again, just as we did on the other projects, and voila. So guys, those are all the projects. Let me know which one is your favorite. I think possibly, well, the mirror turned out better than I thought. I don't know what I thought, but I was a bit concerned at one point. But I think maybe the rainbow, because I've been looking for a more neutral version of, you know, we've got one of those woven rope rainbows with the frayed bits at the bottom in the kids' bedroom. Well, we did have. And I've been looking for a neutral replacement, and this fits the bill. So that's definitely going to be finding a new home in their bedroom when we move next week. This is the bit where I meant to say If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and follow my journey through lots of different DIY projects, and there will be a lot of home content because we're moving into a new rented home and it's been so many months of waiting to be able to make somewhere feel like home and put my own stamp on it. So if you want to follow the journey, please do subscribe, and if you feel so inclined, then thank you in advance. It means a lot, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.